Pre-colonial and colonial America, before 1607 to 1776. Before European settlers arrived, the land that would become the United States was inhabited by diverse indigenous peoples, such as the Iroquois in the northeast, the Cherokee in the southeast, the Sioux in the plains, and the Pueblo in the southwest. These societies had developed sophisticated systems of agriculture, governance, and trade long before European contact. In 1492, Christopher Columbus's voyage opened the door for European exploration of the Americas. Over the next several decades, Spain, France, and England established colonies in the New World. The English first settled in Jamestown, Virginia, in 1607, marking the beginning of British colonization. As more English settlers arrived, they established colonies along the eastern seaboard, such as Plymouth, 1620, Massachusetts Bay, 1630, and Rhode Island, 1636. The colonial period was marked by various forms of labor, including indentured servitude and, later, African slavery. The southern colonies relied heavily on slave labor for their agricultural economy, growing crops like tobacco and rice. Meanwhile, the northern colonies developed a more diverse economy, with industries like shipbuilding and trade becoming central. The Road to Revolution, 1765 to 1775. By the mid-18th century, tensions began to rise between the American colonies and Great Britain. The British government imposed several taxes on the colonies, such as the Stamp Act, 1765, and the Townshend Acts, 1767, in an attempt to pay off war debts from the French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763. The colonists, who had no representation in the British Parliament, protested these taxes with the slogan, "No taxation without representation." The conflict escalated in 1770 with the Boston Massacre, in which British soldiers killed 5 colonists during a confrontation. Tensions continued to rise, and in 1773, colonists staged the Boston Tea Party, dumping British tea into the harbor in protest of the Tea Act. The American Revolution, 1775 to 1783. In 1775, open warfare broke out between the colonies and Britain with the battles of Lexington and Concord. The Continental Congress, formed in 1774, took the bold step of declaring independence from Britain on July 4, 1776, with the signing of the Declaration of Independence, drafted by Thomas Jefferson. The war for independence was difficult, and the Continental Army, led by General George Washington, faced many challenges. However, with crucial support from France, Spain, and the Netherlands, the American forces managed to defeat the British. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially ended the war and recognized the sovereignty of the United States. The Early Republic, 1783 to 1815. After the Revolution, the United States faced the challenge of creating a stable government. The Articles of Confederation, the first governing document, proved ineffective, leading to the drafting of the U.S. Constitution in 1787. The Constitution established a federal system of government with a separation of powers between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The Bill of Rights, added in 1791, protected individual liberties, such as freedom of speech, religion, and the press. George Washington became the first president of the United States in 1789, setting important precedents for the office. The early years of the Republic saw political conflict between two major factions, the Federalists, led by Alexander Hamilton, who favored a strong central government, and the Democratic Republicans, led by Thomas Jefferson, who advocated for states' rights and a more limited federal government. This rivalry led to the formation of the first political parties in the U.S. The War of 1812, fought between the United States and Britain over maritime rights and territorial expansion, further solidified American independence. While the war ended in a stalemate, the Treaty of Ghent, 1814, confirmed that the U.S. would not be subjugated to British rule. The era of expansion and reform, 1815 to 1860. The period following the War of 1812 saw rapid territorial expansion, driven by the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the United States was destined to expand across the North American continent. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803, the annexation of Texas in 1845, and the acquisition of territories following the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848, all contributed to the nation's growth. However, this expansion intensified the debate over slavery. The Southern economy was heavily reliant on slavery, particularly in cotton production, while many in the North were pushing for its abolition. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 and the Compromise of 1850 temporarily settled these disputes but only postponed the inevitable conflict. The 1850s saw the rise of abolitionist movements, with figures like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman leading efforts to end slavery. The tensions over slavery eventually led to the Civil War.